While I don't have a terrible towel,
But what I do have.
you have is a yellow tissue. We can make that work. We'll do. I think I'd be a laughing stock if I showed up at Pittsburgh with a little yellow tissue. I think that would be. I'd get booed out of the stadium. What's cool? What's going on? No, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers today at number 19. I know, but Pittsburgh is it's maybe a bit of a cop out. The Pittsburgh Steelers, everybody's probably gonna have them ranked somewhere like right in the middle. And all jokes aside, which I'm sure you're gonna get tons of them this season with Aaron Rodgers, get the stretcher, get the wheelchair out there. No, Aaron Rodgers, I think he'll have a bounce back year for this football team, well coached, and a team that always seems to find a way to be just okay. So maybe they can break over the hump. We shall see. Who knows? But there's a couple of questions, particularly with this offensive line. And I have some serious questions with this offensive line. Like, there's a couple of really bright spots and some potential areas to be very, very good. However, you look at the tackle ranking. I rank him number 31, Broderick Jones. He is moving to more of his natural position over at left tackle, which is great. And maybe he'll have a resurgence going to year number 3 and figure things out. And that's exactly what they need. You got Troy Fatanu over at right tackle going over there. He did look good. Now, I rank him lower right now because I just need to see a bigger sample size. What was it, like 2 games? He got injured. I want to see it over a bigger sample size, and now he's moving over to right tackle. So that's going to be a big thing there. Between the injuries, between the lack of overall game film out there, just need to see more with Troy Fatano. I do think he's got all the skills and all the tools to be a franchise tackle for this football team. Swing tackle wise, I would imagine it goes to Calvin Anderson. Dalvin Cook probably ends up, maybe Doug Nestor competes there too. Gareth Warren, you never know about him as well. I think Cook has the in to make that fourth tackle position if I had to guess right now. And then transitioning to the interior here, which I feel a lot better about the interior. I ranked the guard position at 18. Isaac Samalu is the one veteran on this offensive line. Like everybody else is on rookie contracts, which is good and bad at the same time. With Samalu, though, at least he gives you that knowledge, and he is a very, very solid guard. You got Zach Frazier, who I think is already a top 3 center in the NFL. And legit conservatively, I would say he's a top 10 center. I've watched a ton of Zach Frazier one-on-one, and I thought he was so good. So maybe the ranking's a little high. I don't think so personally. I think maybe it can be a little low after this season. Ultimately, I don't want to jinx anything. We got to keep it out on Zach Frazier. Really, really like him as long as he stays healthy. You got Mr. McCormick seasoning flying out of here. A little dash, a little pinch there. I think Mason McCormick should be a solid player. I don't know if he's ever going to be an elite guard or anything like that. He definitely has the tools. He's got the talent, and how he develops is going to be key. I would feel better if he was like a third guard at the moment, like a swing backup to be able to develop behind one more veteran. So maybe they can find somebody else out there. But for right now, I don't think it's a necessity sort of situation. I would question the depth, though. In general, on this offensive line, it is a little not instilling tons of confidence. In other words, Max Sharping, Spencer Anderson, Mr. Anderson, yeah, but I don't think so. Ryan McCollum, to me, is their best backup right now on this roster. Nick Broker, I do like him coming out of Ole Miss, going into what, number 2 now at this point. So we shall see with some of these guys. But for right now, the confidence level, if they start having injuries, which they've had some injuries on this offensive line, then it begs the questions of my confidence level. And that's why I rank them more in that 20 range of offensive lines and maybe a little bit lower with the youth and whether or not these guys develop on their offensive line. So there's a lot of upside here with this young core. They could be a really, really good core for the next 5, 10 years. But for right now, it's just a little bit unknown. You got some pieces you feel really good about. At the same time, there's also some big unknowns. So that's going to be a big key for this football team this season, I feel like. Moving on to the wide receiving core now, and it's highlighted by DK Metcalf coming over here. I don't know how that chemistry is going to work because Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career is more of get the ball out quick and look for a guy who gets open really, really fast. And Metcalf definitely could get open quick. I mean, he's an physically imposing force, but he is definitely more of that deep threat, go vertical one-on-one. And Rodgers hasn't really done those. It's not the Jordy Nelson days and whatnot. So figuring out that chemistry, I think, is going to be the key early on. I do think they'll develop that chemistry. And when you look at the weaknesses too with the offensive line, will they be able to hold up long enough on those edges and stuff like that? So definitely a key for this offense is figuring out DK Metcalf and his role. I still think he's going to be very, very good. And then you got guys like, and this is why my ranking's 28. I think that you just come down to maybe some unprovenness here, slash Roman Wilson. Got to stay healthy. And how does he look in going into year number 2, right? We just didn't see him last season. You got Calvin Austin, the third, obviously great special teamer, and also was actually pretty good as a receiver last year, made a lot of impact. Ben Skoranek is a good number 4 for this football team. Robert Woods brings a veteran presence. Ultimately, I would say that it's going to be competition between Scotty Miller for special teams, and maybe Woods competes too. Possibly he could be a sneaky miss for this roster. I think they keep Woods. I'd be a little shocked if they didn't keep him as the veteran in the room, and I think he's just good in general for a locker room and for this football team. So I do think he'll end up making the roster. I think Skoranek is a lock too. So it just kind of comes down to Scotty Miller, Johnson, some of these other guys. We shall see on who ends up how many receivers they keep. I would guess like 6 at the moment, but maybe they only keep 5 and then they keep an extra tight end or an extra, offensive lineman, whatever they want to do there. Overall, wide receiver room, a little interesting. The tight end room, though, helps them out a lot. And Arthur Smith, got to bring in John Smith, and don't forget about Muth. Like they got the 2 names out here. You got Muth and you got John Who. So I mean, it's perfect. It's just that Steeler culture. It's that Steeler vibe. Yeah, I'm loving it, man. To steal the McDonald's slogan. But you got Pat Fryermuth. You got John Smith going to be your main receiving options, and then Darnell Washington's going to be that 6th offensive lineman, which they're going to need Washington. I'll say that, especially early in this season. So Washington's a perfect, going to be excellent for this offense and the scheme. Connor Hayward, I still think will end up making the roster. However, it's something to monitor. He could be like a practice squad candidate that gets put up at some point later on in the season that they bring up for injuries and stuff. I fully expect him to be a Steeler this season. It's just whether or not he'll be practice squad for a little bit or whatever. Tight end ranking, though, at number 6. DJ Thomas Jones, a guy to keep an eye out on if he was healthy. Unfortunately, he's not out for the season. They thought he tore his Achilles, but I think they're okay. He kind of avoided it or something, a serious injury. I heard something about that, but he's a guy maybe you could keep an eye out on if everything goes okay. Then we go on to the running back room here, and I rank it 27th in the NFL. Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, Kenny Gainwell, those 3 guys to me are locked in. Now, I think you're going to have competition with the rest of these guys. Maybe Sermon has the advantage at the moment if they want to keep more of the veteran presence out there. It just kind of is going to depend on that. Overall, this group looks good. Like they've got everything that they need. Warren can be that dynamo, even though Johnson has plenty of athleticism and whatnot. But Warren can be that early 3rd down back. Johnson can be your workhorse between the tackles. Kenny Gainwell can also rotate in on 3rd downs too. So they're in a really good spot here. Johnson, I've heard, is already looking really, really good. And I mean, the scheme fit and Arthur Smith outside zone scheme, like you couldn't put this in any better for Caleb Johnson for a fit. I think he's going to hit the ground running, pun intended, and be a really, really good back for this football team. He looks rocked, though. I saw him out there in training camp. Dude, the muscles on that guy is insane. On to the quarterback position, and all jokes aside, Aaron Rodgers, how does he look this season? And as a Jets fan, I understand there's definitely some concern out there. I do think this is a perfect spot for him to come and to be able to finish his career. Sure, the offensive line is the big concern for me. I think he'll figure it out with the weapons. Ultimately, it is coming down to, can this offensive line protect Aaron Rodgers enough? And especially at this point in his career, he's not, the most dynamic or anything and getting on the move. He's not vintage Aaron Rodgers or anything like that, but he's still very smart. He's going to know when to get the ball out on time and stuff like that. So if I do think there's a good chance that he'll finish his career on a high note here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if it's going to lead to a Super Bowl, but I do think, playoffs is very much in the question and maybe make a little bit of a run. Mason Rudolph, I suspect, will be the solid backup for this team, but hopefully Will Howard will cement himself as the backup long term. Skylar Thompson, to me, would be competing with more like Mason Rudolph for a backup position. I'd be shocked if they cut Will Howard just with the developmental upside and trying to keep Howard for the future. So quarterback ranking at 20, I do think it's conservative. I think Rodgers at this point he's still got more in the tank. So we shall see, right? That's going to be a fun discussion. And Pittsburgh Steelers fans, let's bring it. That's going to be the big thing for this football team. How does Rodgers look defensively wise, though? Oh, man. You're talking about a defensive line. Oh, you got a couple of players, right? Each defensive line, you took like 1 or 2 guys. You're like, all right, we got some promise here. This defensive line has like 6 deep, maybe even 7 if Jack Sawyer takes a step. But you got TJ Watt, you got Keanu Benton, you got Cameron Hayward, the ageless wonder. You got Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Derek Harmon. Let me get some water. You got Jack Sawyer coming in here. Daniel Qualley is a good rotational player. It's star-studded, man. This is an elite defensive line. TJ Watt just got extended, thank goodness. Alex Highsmith's really, really good. One of the most electric spin-moving machine edge rushers out there. Nick Herbig, so underrated. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about this defense line. That's why it's a top 5 unit very, very easily. Edge ranked number 1, interior defensive line number 4. Harmon, can't wait to see what he looks like as a rookie. He should be working quite early on, too, as a rotational player. Isaiah Loudermilk, Yahya Black, Dean Lowry, those guys going to be competing for roster spots. I think Aquali ends up making it no problem. Logan Lee will definitely be competing as well. He's probably more of a practice squad candidate if I had to guess right now. Another guy who's going to be fighting for sure is DeMarvin Leal. I don't know. That's going to be a big thing whether or not he gets the roster spot. I've heard he wants to play more off the edge this season. That's the way they're going to use him. I think they try to keep him, but if they only keep 4 edge rushers, then Leal could be the guy that's on the way out. So that's something to keep an eye out on. On to the linebacking core now. And it's a good one. It's a good one. Patrick Queen, yeah, maybe not as good as he was in Baltimore. Still solid last season. And Peyton Wilson was amazing when he got an opportunity. So I think Peyton Wilson was better than Patrick Queen. You got Cole Holcomb, great football player, just injuries, right? I'm really rooting for this guy. That dude, man, I would love to see a bounce back this season for him. He's a guy that I'm rooting for big time. Malik Harrison, I think ends up making the roster, and then you're gonna have competition between Brenner and Robinson and Harper for a special teams role if they keep 5 linebackers, which I suspect they would. On to the cornerback room. I rank it 6th in the NFL. This defense, it's looking good, isn't it? You got Darius Slay. Now, for the future, they're going to have to think about it, okay? And your hope is that Corey Trice gets another season to be able to develop as, right now would be your 4th corner with Brendan Echols. Dante Kent, I think, personally, I think Kent might beat out James Pierce for the roster. I'd give him that chance. I think he's got a lot of upside, a lot of talent there. So definitely watch out for that battle in training camp. But in terms of the starters, Slay, Porter, Ramsey, I think Porter's going to have a big time bounce back season, especially when you got Ramsey and Slay out there. If they stay healthy, yeah, this is an insane cornerback duo. Watch out. It definitely is really good. It's just the injury thing is going to be a big question. Then you got safeties here at number 19. Juan Thornhill. You got the Joker, Deshaun Elliott. Elliott was great last year. Juan Thornhill looking for a bounce back this season, so he's going to be hungry for that. I hear he's looking really good in training camp as well right now, which is good, but we need to see, of course, in the season. You got Chuck Clark, who they just brought in as that veteran guy. I like that. It's a good signing. Sebastian Castro going to be competing there, I would imagine. Miles Kilbrew makes the roster for special teams. Absolutely. And that's another thing. Will they keep Castro as a hybrid guy who can play a little in the slot too, as a 5th safety for them? That's, if they only keep 4 safeties, then he'd be a practice squad candidate for sure, though, for me. So safety wise, I rank him at 19. It's not an elite unit, but I do think it's a solid unit overall. Coaching wise, I rank it number 4 in the NFL. It's Mike Tomlin. I hate, Mike Tomlin. I get it. You're frustrated as a Steeler fan that you've just been mediocre over the years. But Mike Tomlin is such a good coach, and trust me, as a Jets fan, I would take Mike Tomlin any day of the week. He is a rock steady coach. You've had some quarterback ups and downs ever since losing Ben Roethlisberger opposite to retirement. And the question is, can Mike Tomlin take a quarterback and develop him and turn him into a franchise quarterback? Yeah, of course. I mean, what is this? His 16th season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's some question marks there. Ultimately, though, Mike Tomlin's he's a good coach, and just dealing with some ups and downs here. Coordinator wise, too, I think they're in a pretty good spot with Terrell Austin and Arthur Smith. Like Arthur Smith, solid OC, right? I mean, coaching wise, maybe not quite there. Maybe gets another chance at some point. But as an offensive coordinator like him and Terrell Austin, I think we would see a little more this season. Ultimately, their defense looks really good. So, yeah, I mean, that defensive line, just let them eat. That corner secondary room looks really good, too. Finishing things up with the record prediction, I got them going 8-9. I get it. It's the cop-out, as I mentioned at the very beginning. You put them, right in the middle, right to fifth, fire on 500. This would be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, though, this has happened. So, it's probably unrealistic, and hopefully it's unrealistic, right? But nonetheless, 8-9, just too many questions with Aaron Rodgers, the offensive line, the receivers. How are they going to work with Aaron Rodgers' skill set? Yeah, the offense is the big key for this football team. If their offense is a top 15 unit, oh, they're a legit team. Their defense is going to be a top 5 unit this season, barring major injuries. It just is that offense and how some of these young guys working with Aaron Rodgers and how that chemistry goes, because Aaron Rodgers, you know him in the wide receiver sort of thing. If he doesn't trust you, he's not throwing you the football. So that is going to be a big thing here for this football team, is how quickly does Aaron Rodgers feel that chemistry and whatnot. So let me know what you think. Agree or disagree on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope you guys have a really good day.